Okay, I just started the recording, and I just accidentally clicked right there, and then I died. So, yay! That was a very memorable opening. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Welcome back to Walls of CCLP3. JB here, and we're gonna try because right now we have 12 levels in each of these episodes that we're going to be getting to here. Or sorry, we have 12 levels total. We are going to try to get to 3 levels in each of these episodes, and I'm going to try to see if we can cap the Let's Play at 25 episodes. That would be a nice number to end off on, is 25. It's right in the middle of the 20s decade. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this level, Frantic Frenzy, which appears to be a very dodging-heavy level, judging by what I'm seeing here. I seem to recall seeing this in the editor, and I remember getting some inspiration for my level Chomp and Circumstance from that little quick view over here. But anyway, while we're playing this level, I want to address something that has come up in the last few days regarding this Let's Play. And I want to do this publicly because it started with this Let's Play, which is public, and I think it's only right to resolve it this way, where everybody can see it and, you know, the air can be cleared. But to catch everybody up on what's happened, 3 episodes ago in this Let's Play, I made a comment when I was playing through the level, the internal 3D dungeon, in which I said that the level was not memorable. And Josh had left a message on the Discord, and then later made a video of his own in which he started playing through his own CCLP5 submission set, in which he said that he felt a little bit hurt because of that comment. And I wanted to address that comment and address Josh and validate how he's feeling, and just make sure he feels heard through all of this stuff. And I asked him in the comments of that video he posted, hey, you know, I'm going to be recording a Let's Play episode of Walls of CCLP3 today. Is it okay if I address your comments that you made in that video in my own? Is that okay? You know, I think it might be better just to get this out there verbally and to, you know, say some of my own thoughts on this. And he said that it was okay. So I'm doing this, even though he doesn't know what I'm going to say, I'm doing this with his blessing as far as just putting my thoughts out there. So the first thing I want to do before I say anything else is I want to issue an apology to Josh, because what I said was very point blank. It wasn't very nuanced at all. It didn't really leave a lot of room for, you know, anything else. I definitely had something very specific in mind when I was saying what I said, but I didn't really temper it in any way. And I do think, and I'll get to this more about this here in a minute, I do think that there is such a thing as like differentiating between an opinion and like how that wow, that is a really tight spot there. I do think there is something to be said for differentiating between an opinion and how you express that opinion and how that expression might impact a person. And in this case, Josh was impacted by that, and I want to acknowledge that. So, I'm sorry, Josh. I was very blunt when I said what I said, and I didn't really talk any further about it. And as you said yourself in your video, I didn't really provide any constructive criticism. I do think I did provide one piece of constructive criticism, which I'll talk about here in a sec. But, you know, in the context of that comment, I definitely didn't say much, and that probably wasn't very ideal. So, so I wanted to mention that. But the other thing I want to talk about here is I do want to issue some clarity about what I said. This is not to minimize what I just said. This is not to minimize the apology or anything like that. But it's just to provide further context and also just, you know, kind of give me and others, you know, who do these Let's Plays something to shoot for as far as, you know, how we evaluate things and maybe how we present our opinions. Because I do think there is something to be said for how we present things and how they can be more edifying to people. So let's start off with the definition of the word unmemorable, because I do think that word was a poor word choice. I could have phrased that much better. I think I could have used an entirely different word altogether there. Unmemorable is a word that that has a lot of baggage attached to it. It's a word that, you know, can mean a lot to a lot of different people depending on the context. I remember back when CCLP3, I think it was being played through by Marcus, who did a Let's Play of it back in the day. He criticized a lot of my own levels in that set, and he said similar things. I don't remember the exact words, but it was something along those lines that, you know, the levels just didn't stand out to him. They weren't very challenging, that kind of thing. I think he went in a little bit more detail than I gave Josh, you know, in my own comments to him. But they hit me in a very similar way. You know, they were... I felt like my levels weren't really getting their due, you know, when he was going through them in that very critical way with that eye that he had while he was putting them under his microscope. So, wow, okay, that was a little bit faster than I was expecting for that one. Okay, so that was definitely bug arranging walls. I distinctly remember going through that in Lynx recently. So, cool level. It was a nice breather from everything puzzly over the last few levels. I do think it was pretty reasonable. The right side rooms were pretty tight, but I don't think they were unreasonable, and I liked how the hint requires you to go back for another trip. I think you can see... Oh, no, you can't see that here. But there was a little niche with a green door. So yeah, that was fun. It's not my favorite, but I thought it was pretty nice in the context of where it appears in this set. Okay, Greyland. There's a hint at the start, so I feel like I need to read this. All chips are under blocks and all are required. Think ahead with your path plotting. Walls from suspended animation. Okay, that's a level without many walls, so that's going to be very interesting. Let me just check something real quick. Did I turn on the... I'm a little worried I didn't turn on the right mic for this, so I guess I'll find out in post, but... Anyway, back to the comments. So yeah, when Marcus said those things, you know, it definitely stung a bit. And I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like you didn't really give these levels their due. But later on, I kind of was like, okay, Marcus, as he got later into the set, I realized, okay, he has his own personal rubric for what's considered a quality level. And it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I can sort of see where he's coming from on a lot of this stuff under the conditions of that rubric, right? So it got to the point, and I totally messed that up. It got to the point where I was like, okay, I can live with this now that I know what the rubric is. So I'm going to present kind of my own rubric here when it comes to evaluating levels, because I think there are multiple ones, and I wasn't being very clear on which rubric I was going with when I was evaluating the internal 3D dungeon. So, in the interest of clarity, I'm going to do my best to present that here. So I guess first things first. Hang on a sec. Is it possible to get through... Okay, no. I can't do it quite like that. I think there are 3 different ones that I've used, and especially with a set like this. One of them is the default, is this level fun to play? Did I have a good time? You know, that kind of thing. And I'll just say straight up, if that's the rubric I was using for the internal 3D dungeon when I made that comment, then the answer would be yes, I did have fun, and I did enjoy the level. So I want to just put that doubt to rest right now. Because one of the things Josh said in his video was, you know, I think JB was very frustrated with having to restart the level and all that stuff, and he had to replay everything, and he made that comment, you know, in light of that frustration. And yes, I was frustrated. I don't deny that. But the comment I made about the level not being memorable was not made with that in mind. So I'll just put any doubts about that to rest. The next rubric I sometimes use is this level... okay, so it's like this. That's a cool path. I like that. Is this level a good candidate for a community set that is currently in production? And this was the one I was actually thinking of when I made the comment. And I think I may have said something along these lines, but I didn't really dwell on this too much, so I can see why this wasn't very clear. One of the things that I was thinking while I was playing the level was, does this block pushing level stand out amidst a sea of other block pushing levels? And now I'm worried that I screwed this one up here. Oh wait, no. I can go out this way, right? Maybe? No, I can't. Okay. And the problem with this is that there are so many block pushing levels that are in contention for CCLP5 and potentially even beyond CCLP5 if we're really being honest with ourselves right now. And because of that, it's kind of like, okay, you're dealing with... Wait, how did I do this again? Oh, I think I took like the outer track there. Because of that, you're dealing with so many different levels, and especially now that we're getting into this territory of, you know, levels that use elements that are not CC specific, there's just so much competition. And so when I was playing the internal 3D dungeon, I think I was thinking during that whole segment, I was like, okay, this feels like Josh is trying to, you know, make a level in that space of things that use elements outside traditional Sokoban type stuff, you know, that kind of thing. Also, why did I do that? And I think because I've played so many levels and I've designed a few myself, you know, the Sokobans themselves, to me, just didn't stand out. And so, and that's not to say that Josh did not work hard on them. I just want to make sure I'm very clear on that I respect the time and effort that Josh put into making those. So I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting his time, if that makes sense. I want to acknowledge that he put in a lot of effort, and that I recognize that. So why did I do that? The hint is right. You really do need to think about how to plot everything here. Maybe I should get back to this topic later on. So all that to say, I keep doing that for some reason. All that to say that I was thinking in terms of, if I were voting for this in CCLP5 and there were other levels of this type, would I be voting for this very highly? And if I'm being honest with myself, the answer is probably no. When compared to those other levels of that type. So that's all I was coming from with that. It's not a statement on how much effort you put in, Josh. It's not a statement on whether I had fun or not. It's a statement about, would I vote for this in CCLP5 in the sense that this would stand out very much. And I guess just for me personally, and again, just coming back to the fact that this is a subjective topic, I recognize that my opinion is my opinion, and that's not everyone's going to share that, right? So just wanted to get that out there too. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, because this room here is definitely a little tricky. And I'm not seeing like a very good path out of here. Yeah, this... Maybe the key is not coming down through that column. Maybe that's what it is. The third rubric that I use, and this is more specific to this set, is the walls of layout rubric. And this is one where I've mentioned quite a few times throughout the Let's Play. I want to offer Josh and other designers who use walls as much grace as I can, because I recognize that wall patterns themselves are not created equal, right? I mean, something like this is a very challenging wall pattern to use, and it definitely takes a lot more time and effort to... Okay, so I could do something like that, like going around here, and then maybe I can slip out that way. Is that possible? Oh, except I forgot to... Well, wait a minute. Maybe it still is. Hang on. Oh, no. I'm going to have to push that off to the side. Okay. There's definitely a way to do this. And I'm sure I'm just missing it. But yeah, when it comes to walls of CCLP3, I think in the case of the internal 3D dungeon, the thing that really stood out to me about that level specifically is that its wall pattern was so open-ended, and Josh went the route, in this case, of... why did I feel like I did something a little different there. He went the route of filling in the space himself with extra, clone machines and things like that, which is, definitely something that you may want to do if you have this big open area and you want to make it something more constrained. So I think in that case, because there was more designer-defined walls, I was kind of coming down a little bit harder on that one for that reason, right? Like, okay, what happens if I start... Well, no, I can't, because once I go through there, yeah, I'm screwed, so I can't do that. So maybe I have to come at it from a different direction. So I think because I was noticing that the walls themselves were very user-defined and not like level or template-defined, I was willing to be a little more critical of that than like other cases where he didn't have as, he had less choice, maybe the walls were more constrained or, something like that. But on top of that, the Sokubans themselves, I mentioned a little earlier in this episode too, I didn't really find them to be very standoutish. And that's more, I guess you could say that's more of a comment on like Sokuban design as kind of a, okay, this is how you do it. As a discipline where, oh, I'm going to have to come at this from the other side, aren't I? Okay. Well, at least I know that that's there. Okay, so there's a chip there. I'm just looking around at where all these are, because I need to do a better job planning this. This was the Paramecium room, right? In suspended animation. Okay, this one's easy. Just do that. I made a level similar to this in Walls of CCLP1 called The Walls Are Closing In, I think was the name of it. Okay, I messed that up too. I think this is a little bit more interesting in some ways because there's more like distinct clusters, if you want to call them that. Okay, so I want to attack that one sooner than later, probably. But I think I have a general idea of, like, where to go. I'm apparently missing one block, though. Anyway, yeah, if I had to... So, I do want to address Josh's a request for, something more solid in terms of constructive criticism. And for that, I would say it's hard for me to, like, give... I keep, like, cutting it close there. It's hard for me to give, like, specific pointers on Sokoban design, because that's mainly where I had issues with the level, was... I thought the level was more difficult by virtue of it being linear, and less because any of the puzzles were difficult, if that makes sense. It's like, especially at the very end, I feel like the difficulty was more informed by the fact that at the very end of the level, you have this puzzle where what you have to do... Okay, so don't go through there that way, apparently. Where what you have to do is not really communicate well. So I will say I did mention a potential solution for that in that episode. I did say I think you could clearly show where the bombs... Why do I keep messing this part up? I don't know why. I do think you could more clearly show where the bombs what side needs to be, you know, allocated what number of blocks a little more clearly. I thought I mentioned that. Maybe if I did not mention that, then that's my bad. I recognize that, but I want to say I did. I could be completely mistaken though. So, but anyway, that would be my main criticism, and in terms of like something to improve, or my main constructive criticism, as far as like, hey, here's something that you might look into improving. The Sokobans themselves, I know this is going to sound very general, but I would say, you know, maybe look into making them a little bit tighter. And there's definitely an art to doing that. I recognize that's something very, like, again, that feedback is very vague, and that's why I didn't really bring it out when I was going through the actual level itself. So I recognize that that's probably not the most ideal piece of feedback to be receiving. Okay, I feel like I'm doing this in a very not ideal order. Okay, so I want to come through there and then go back. Is that how we do it? Okay. Let's run with that. And I feel like making tight Sokobans is just something that comes with practice. That's not just something where I would expect a designer to... Oh, I think that's where I went wrong. I'm cutting it right there. I think that's the issue. Also, I may need to step away for a few minutes here, so... Whoops, I keep, like, I see it and I'm like, ooh, let's go over there. So anyway, that's mainly where I was coming from on the level. I do want to also mention that when it comes to our definitions of what memorable is, I understand, like, from a design perspective that because we are, you know, we do have a connection to the work that we produce. I get that. I think it's very understandable to create a connection between, like, the amount of work put into designing something and, like, I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, the amount of memorability we think that it has because of that. And I know that's a weird way to put that, but in this case, okay, let's do this. Okay, that's a really cool way to use that space. I like that. So in his video, Josh pulled out a level that he was playing called 5 of Diamonds from Josh L3, I want to say. And he mentioned in the video, he said something like, you know, I don't think this is a very memorable level because, you know, I basically threw it together by making all these diamond shapes and stuff with CC elements. And I get where he's coming from with that. It's kind of like the whole idea of, you know, I made something and I didn't expect people to like it, right? So, I don't think it deserves all this attention compared to, say, something else that I did make that, you know, is more interesting, you know, let's just call it that, more memorable, you know, under the conditions that I... Okay, this is this room that we had some trouble with earlier. I don't think we're going to be able to solve this because I closed off the... Yeah, that little bit right there is really tricky. But yeah, it's the idea that, you know, if I put in a lot more work on something, hopefully that should stand out to people, and, you know, hopefully that will come through in how memorable the level actually is at the end of the day. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, and if I had to offer a piece of pushback to what Josh said in the video, it would probably be with this. I think it's possible to create something that no one ultimately likes when they play it, and or not no one, that sounds really harsh, but maybe a better way to put this is, I think it's possible that you may make something that isn't received in the way you thought it would be received. And maybe that's a better way of phrasing that. Or maybe you may make something that unexpectedly gets liked, even when you thought people wouldn't like it. I know that that's come up several times in the Chips Challenge design space. Like, for example, I think it was the CCLP3 where Japanese game show, one of my own levels that I made a while back, and during the CCLP3 era of all things, that level got a lot more high marks and, you know, positive feedback from people than I thought it deserved, personally. I was not really a fan of that level, and I was kind of worried that it would get into the set, but people liked it, and so I decided, you know, maybe I should submit this, and so I went ahead and submitted it, and sure enough, it got into the set. But that was because people liked it where I thought that it wasn't that great of a level. And I mainly thought that because I ripped off, elements of other levels that I thought were better at doing what that level ultimately did. So I thought, I didn't really put a lot of effort into that, so it must not be great. But people ended up enjoying it. And, if they enjoyed it, then I'm not going to deny them that enjoyment. The same thing if people didn't like it and I thought I had put in a lot of work to it. I don't think putting in a lot of work is the indicator of whether it's ultimately memorable. I think that's just a very subjective thing. But I can understand why, as a designer, we feel that way. And I'm fully preparing, just FYI, I'm fully preparing for CCLP5. There's probably going to be a lot of levels I'm going to be submitting that people are not going to like at all, even though I put in a lot of effort into making them. So I want to acknowledge what Josh said there, but I do kind of want to push back on that a little bit, because I don't think there is a commensurate relationship with like effort versus how good it is all the time. I mean, just look at, and this is not a dig on the designer, just look at You Can't Teach an Old Frog New Tricks. That level is often a lot of people will say I respect what it did, but it's not for me personally, a very fun level to play. Even though the level took a very long time to build. It was one of those levels that was in development for quite some time. So, anyway, that's the only other piece of feedback I would give, but, yeah, that's pretty much most of what I had to say on the subject. I hope what I said made sense and that it came through and that the spirit of what I wanted to communicate was evident here. This is not a dig at Josh. This is not, I'm not trying to put down the internal 3D dungeon in any way beyond just, the issues I had with it. And it's not even that the issues I had were anything particularly bad about the level. It's just more the context in which I was playing it. I was thinking of CCLP5 and I was thinking, oh, these are block pushing levels. This is one of many block pushing levels I'm probably going to see during voting. And if I'm being honest with myself, is this one that I feel will stand out amidst that crowd? And so that's where my comment was coming from. So I had fun playing it. I hope, Josh, you know that I wasn't just frustrated for the sake of being frustrated. And I hope this cleared the air a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to apologize one more time for the way I communicated that. I definitely could have done a better job with that. So anyway, I'm going to continue with level 140 here in a minute, but first I got to step away for a sec. So I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So let's see, we have Distortion World, which seems to be a force floor level. Ooh, okay, so this is going to be interesting. This wall pattern is really kind of all over the place here. Okay, I see suction boots behind a socket, so I think the implication here is that we need to get all the chips before we get the suction boots. So let's work on that. Thankfully we can cheat a little bit in here in MS and backwards boost off these things. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearings here. And apparently we have a Sokoban here. Okay, looks really interesting. Let me do that first. And then that. I'm just trying to position all these. So right away I'm noticing here that there are 3 blocks, and somehow I'm going to have to get one off the edge, because, I mean, here, one is going to live right there, right? So how do we do that, is the question. Oh wait, it could go there on the right side. That's how we do it. So actually, I think this might be more simple than I'm making it out to be here. Whoa, 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 okay. This kind of reminds me a little bit of Gravity Well from CCLP3, at least the theme of it. Okay, so let me put this over here. So then I can go around and grab you. So all I need to do is just really get these in one at a time, right? I think that's all I really need to do. Ooh, I can go over here. Ooh. This also kind of reminds me a little bit of, what is it called, Oxide Station from earlier in the set. Okay, there we go. Thankfully, unlike Link's, you can hold down and just kind of get a view into things here, which helps a lot. Okay, so can I get... Here we go. I can do this. Ooh, another Sokoban. Okay. So I'm going to assume that I can approach this from there. Maybe. My only thing here is what happens... Okay, so that's where that would lead. How do I get that block out? What happens if I push it right? It just goes to the right there. Maybe that's the key. I just need to push it there and then push it down. That's probably it. In fact, I think it has to be it. So let me push that up for now. Okay. So now I got that in. There we go. Push you there. Go down here. So this is relatively straightforward. Just get all these in place and we should be golden. I still need to deal with that other block in the other Sokoban room. Okay. And let's take the slide back. That's the fun route. Okay. I need to figure out a way to get over there. Yeah, I think I see what I need to do there. That's a little tricky, but doable. There we go. That's cool. I like that little section. Okay, so we got that now. So now all I need to do is that. And there's also another chip, aside from this one behind the traps. Where do you get that? I can just get over there. Wait, I think we did it this way. Yeah, this is the better way to do it. Yeah, there we go. Alright. Okay, it's right there. There we go. So now I just need to get the suction boots, and then we can get to the hints and other stuff. Like the exit. There we go. Alright, that was pretty fun. I like that. Walls from Recurring Dream. I guess that level didn't have many walls, did it? I mean, it had a lot of thin walls. Yeah, that area where the hint is where the upper, like that room with the different elements was. I think this was where the fireballs were, and then this room was the paramecia thing. Wait a minute. Isn't that the shape the blocks were in the paramecia room? They were. And then, so up here... Okay, I don't think there's a correlation to this and what was there, but that's interesting that that's the shape the blocks are in. That was fun. I liked that one. Alright, Unreal Hardware Mayhem. I think I'm going to save this for next time. This has a time limit of $9.99, and I gotta end things off here for now. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Hope this was still fun to watch, even though most of it was kind of a bit of a monologue kind of thing. And I hope what I said made sense for the most part. And again, Josh, I hope you feel acknowledged. I want you to feel heard, and I hope what I said. I wanted to not sound like I was diminishing the fact that you felt hurt by some of those comments, and so I hope what I said communicated that without taking away from that, if that makes sense. So anyway, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you are, thank you for listening and for keeping up with the Let's Play, and thanks for being willing to let me express my response here in this video. That really means a lot. So I'll cap things off here for now. For everybody else, thank you so much for watching, and for your support and comments as well. Hope you enjoyed yourself today, and I'll catch you next time. So take care, and I will see you then. Bye for now.